Welcome to the Wake Up Dad Show. This is episode number 23.
It's a totally new era of dadhood where we want to be able to do the things we did when we were like a single guy or maybe married guy, but at the same time there's a lot more demands placed on us or demands that we want to step into, and we just have a tough time negotiating it.
Wake up, Dad!
Are you confused and overwhelmed about your role in all the craziness that is being a dad? Are you struggling to create the life you hope for? Are you looking for other dads to share your struggles and your triumphs? Or do you just need help waking up in the morning? Join your host, Dr. Scott Vatcher, as he explores the amazing and sometimes crazy world of being a dad. This is the Wake Up Dad Show.
Hey Dad, and welcome to another episode of the Wake Up Dad Show. This show is dedicated to you, the dad who wants more success, time, health, fitness, connection, passion, and all-around awesomeness. I'm your host, Dr. Scott, and on today's episode, got an amazing guest all the way from America. His name's Dr. Jay Warren. He's dedicated his career to helping people live happy and healthy lives, and he now specializes in wellness care for pregnant women and babies. Dr. Jay practices at the CAP Wellness Center, a fully integrated multi-disciplinary prenatal, post-partum, and pediatric wellness center in San Diego. Man, that's a mouthful to say. He's a member of the ICPA, which is a pediatric association, the APPPAH, the Association of Pre- and Perinatal Psychology and Health, and is a host of a podcast called Healthy Births, Happy Babies, which has just gone off on the radio tune. So check that podcast out, guys. It's an absolute valuable lesson to be learned for dads to be and young dads. Of course, you would think it would be geared towards mums, healthy births and happy babies, which of course it does have an aspect of that. But dads out there, I'm sure you want to learn more about that process. That is an absolutely invaluable resource to have. Dr. J also likes to enjoy an active lifestyle as a surfer. That's fantastic. A lot of surfing over here in Australia as well. Yogi and a volleyball player. And he is becoming more of a runner now that his son, Niko, is almost 3 years old. So welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you so much for having me, Scott. You know, I'm really happy to be a part of it because there are not many podcasts supporting dads out there at all. I know when I was a brand new dad, just my son, he's 3, as you just read, I was looking for things and there's nothing out there. So I'm glad you're putting something out there for the dads that are needing and looking for support.
Yeah, and I created this podcast because, as I've said before, and I'll say again, I'm never going to win Dad of the Year. So I will, I want to do this journey with you guys, with you dads out there. So I'm really excited to keep going forward with this podcast and learn more and more. And I know today you're going to bring some massive value to a different discussion today a little bit. We're going to focus a little bit more on dads to be and dads of really, really young people, because in your practice, you see obviously a lot of pregnant women and then young kids. So give us a little bit more of a description about how you go about that and how you communicate with dads when mom comes in as well.
Sure. Well, you know, honestly, most of the time that I'm talking with dads is it's only a couple of times. One, I teach a prenatal wellness class that's kind of required for the families that are coming in, and dads come along with it. And then sometimes they're coming along with the moms to their prenatal appointments, to their adjustments. And it's not that I don't see dads at all. It's just the majority of the work I do throughout the day is with the moms and then the newborns when they come in. And, you know, as you said, I work at a prenatal wellness center, and when we first launched, which was a couple years ago, it was all prenatal. It was just, you know, pregnancy, and then as soon as the mom had the baby, we kind of dropped off support, and we realized a couple months in that the moms needed a lot of support postpartum, and so we put a lot of effort into supporting the moms in that way and new mamahood afterwards. And then the next phase right now that we're going through is, I'm the only guy that works here in this center, and I'm seeing like the dads are really needing support just as much as the moms. And so we're trying to put things more in place for dads to have a place to come and kind of talk about the things we're going to be talking about today on the podcast. I've already referred a lot of dads to your podcast now that it's up and running. So I thank you for that. And I just see, and I know too, I mean, I'm a new dad as well. Niko's 3, are going to be turning 3 next month. And, there's a lot that I want to do, and there's a lot I feel called to do, but I don't always have the wherewithal or the skills or the tools or the support to do it. And so I know I'm not alone in that. And so the more I seek things out to see like what helped me, I know would help other dads as well. And especially that kind of deer in the headlights that I'll see with new dads coming in with a newborn, not knowing what to do. I just want to try and help them as much as possible, because we've all gone through it as dads. It's just if we can go through it that much easier and get to the really wonderful, fun part of being a dad rather than the other parts that kind of slow us down, then it's better for the whole family. It's better for the baby, and it's better for mom.
Absolutely. And I've seen a few of your videos that you put on Facebook. Little Niko going, definitely going crazy. Was it on a scooter? Did I see one?
Yeah. He is a terror on that thing. It's amazing to see how just balanced and fun he has on that thing. It's so cool.
Yeah, my little one is probably around the same age, 3-4 years old. She's 6 now. She's just, those scooters, man, they do get you running. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, with our podcast, really, we focus on dads, of course, and the name of the podcast is called Wake Up Dad. And the reason why is because a lot of dads, especially in that beginning, that first few years, really they fall asleep and become completely unconscious about who they are. They lose themselves as who they are as men, have no idea what they're doing as a dad. Loving as a lover goes out the window. Even it's just people. For me, I was a zombie for probably the first 3 years. And, now again that Rory's 6, I'm just starting to come out the other side. And really what I want to do is try and help dads to not have to go through, 3 or 4 or 5 years of zombiehood. So I created this thing called the 5 Ps. It's the 5 Ps of dadhood. Number 1 is purpose, and that's the reason why you're here, the legacy you want to leave behind. Number 2 is power, which is really about achieving optimal health. Number 3 is parenting, which is being the best version of ourselves for our kids. Providing is taking care of our family and being a role model. And passion is for passion within ourselves and within our intimate relationships. So with those 5 Ps in mind, is there one that you've had, because you're right in the thick of the new dadhood with the 3-year-old, one that you are struggling with currently or have struggled with that you're working your way through that you could give any advice for dads out there?
Yeah, 2 come to mind, but then the first one is power, the health aspect of things. It's something I'm back on the horse, and I'm like back to working out and feeling much better. But I really, in those first 2 years, kind of really jumped into more of a, I don't want to say a rut, but like the patterning of all about Niko, all about Effie, and, kind of putting myself last and not really taking care of myself. And I didn't have a health crisis by any means, but, I put on some more poundage and wasn't feeling as strong, more sore and achy. And, especially as Niko got a little older and we were like crawling around and doing all this stuff on the floor, I'm like, man, I am not as old as I feel. I need to get back on it, Absolutely. And it really was because I got kind of lost in, everything else. Not that everything else is bad. And it's coming from a place of giving and serving. It was just, it's a lot of the advice I give to the moms about, you got to put yourself first too, or put yourself on the list and take care of yourself during this time of the newbornhood. It's exactly the same true for dads. And I think this generation, or at least the people I'm working with nowadays, that they're much more involved as dads in the home than probably traditionally they were in the past. And that means there's kind of a reevaluation of like who you are as a guy and as a man in the world and in your own relationship with your partner, and then, you know, figuring out the fatherhood thing. And so you kind of lose, or you can lose part of yourself, just as you experience, and I know I have. And for me, like being active and, you know, getting in the water and surfing and getting on the mat and doing yoga and playing volleyball, like those were big parts of who I was. And in the first 2 years, I really wasn't doing that. You know, I wasn't seeing my buddies playing ball. I wasn't getting in the ocean. And, you know, I just started kind of losing that shine that I had, you know, I just wasn't feeling as good. And I've been putting those things back in, you know, like I'm getting back in the water surfing. I started playing a volleyball league again. And it took some effort and it took some reorganizing. And thankfully, Effie was totally in support of that. It wasn't saying, hey, where are you going? Are you going to go out and play? Well, we got stuff to do at home. She was like, no, you need to go do it. And so that's what I would recommend to all parents, the moms as well as the dads, but specifically the dads, is to, you know, keep those things going that you really enjoy. And for me, it was, you know, working out and surfing and being active in that way, which falls into the health thing. And for another person, it might be the things that they enjoy were, you know, contributing to the providing or to purpose. But I know for me, the health was a big challenge. And now that I'm back at it, it's, you know, I've just noticed such a huge change. And then I have more energy to be more present in the house, you know, like I have more energy to play around with Niko and to chase after him and have fun with it, rather than like, oh my God, kids, slow down. Like I can't keep up.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great point to make, because I truly believe that who we are as men precedes who we are as dads. And we can really lose ourselves in trying to be the best dad possible and doing everything for our kids. But if we're not the best man possible, there's no way we can be the best dad possible.
It's so true, you know, and I with the arc that we're going through here at the CAP Wellness Center and bringing more stuff in for the dads, I've been doing some research into things, and really, you know, a lot of us that are becoming dads now don't necessarily have the modeling from our own dads or from a generation ago of being more involved as parents. A lot of what I've been looking into is, you know, it's a totally new era of dadhood where we want to be able to do the things we did when we were like a single guy or maybe married guy, but at the same time, there's a lot more demands placed on us, or demands that we want to step into, and we just have a tough time negotiating it. And sometimes that shows up of not doing as much for our families, and, you know, getting a kick in the pants for not doing that, or on the other side, kind of losing yourself. And at least the parents that I'm working with, they're here at the, you know, prenatal classes. They're taking like hypnobirthing with moms. They're in the room for births. They're at home changing diapers, all those kind of things. And there's a real disorientation that can come because it's a whole new self. And the quicker you can kind of piece that together of integrating dad along with you as a man, then it's going to just accelerate out of zombie land, as you said, and into, you know, having fun and having a whole new perspective on life. Yeah.
I mean, the 5 Ps, it's not just 1 P anymore. I think dads, even 1 or 2 generations ago, is really about P number 4, providing. You know, they went to work and they provided the money, and mom did everything else. I remember I'm one of 3 kids, and, you know, I've heard jokes over the years that my dad changed a total of 2 nappies. That's diapers. Nappies are diapers. We call it nappies down here in Australia.
Okay.
A total of 2 of 3 kids, right?
Wow.
I mean, how many thousands of nappies would have had to been changed? And he did 2. So, I mean, in today's world, try and get away with that, Dad. Just
exactly.
Go for it. Yeah, right.
You get a nappy thrown at you if you'd only done 2.
A full one.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, us with being dads, it really has expanded, which is really where this podcast has come from. So I think most dads out there will resonate with what you said about power. You know, that was a big one for me. I probably put on anywhere between 5 to 10 kilos, which is that sort of range of about 15 to 20 pounds in that 2 or 3 years of zombiehood. My little one didn't sleep very well, and by not sleep very well, she really didn't sleep for about 2 years. And so
Wow.
there were times where I was driving to work thinking, I'm going to fall asleep. I'm going to die. I cannot do this. So it really was a very difficult time for me for a period of time. And coming out the other side, for those dads out there listening that might resonate very well with what I just talked about with the lack of sleep and having to go and provide for the family at the same time, is there is help out there. There's things that can be done, and I would do things a bit differently if I had my time back, but I don't. So I can help you guys out there if you have some of those issues going on. So you talked about P number 2, power, but you mentioned that there were 2 P's that came to mind and you resonated with. What was the other one?
Yeah, that was the last one, passion, meaning, relationship with Effie. I mean, it was something that, it's very typical, but, as soon as Niko came around, it was all about him. And we really kind of dropped off, having date nights or even just talking about something that wasn't about Niko and how many times he pooped that day and what he crawled and got himself in a mess with or whatever. It was, something we were so excited to have him, and he was such a blessing. We were so excited, and we wanted to share that because he was our child. And at the same time, after a while, it was just like, man, we need to get back to, having a relationship as well. And that's definitely been a slower build. We're 3 years into having Niko, and, we're still working on it and trying to create time. And between the 2 businesses we run and Niko and the grandmas and all this kind of stuff, there's just a lot of demands. But, it's taken time to taking family vacations that are just the 3 of us, a family, rather than everybody, and having more time to just reconnect ourselves, whether or not that's actually a full-blown date night with a sitter and everything. But it could be just as soon as Niko goes down to sleep, being able to chat and catch up and, see what's going on and share something that's other than the parenthood. And I know that's something that, the moms that I talk with here, there's something that they really want, that connection with their husbands. They want to be able to have those kind of things, but they feel pulled because they need to be mom, and they also want to, get back to a relationship. Whereas, I think most guys think, yeah, they don't want to have anything to do with me anymore because the baby's all her focus, and, I'm third fiddle, and, that can be the perception of it. But from the moms that I'm talking with and, other experts that are dealing with mom's transition into mamahood and, putting the relationship back into it, they want it just as much as we do, guys, to get back to things in that way. It's just they're reinventing themselves as well as we are, and it takes some pretty strong communication and putting things out there about, all right, how can we make this happen? And it's a process, and it can be difficult, but it's coming from a place where you want to get back to, as you were saying about, to be the best dad, you have to be the best man that you can as well. But the same thing for the family, you and mom need to have a strong relationship in order for the kiddos to be able to see a loving relationship and to hopefully emulate that later in their lives.
Yeah, I call that, in communication, I talk about it in the idea of expectations and agreements. And it's so important to communicate with your partner about what you both are expecting and then come up with an agreement together. Because when you are thinking what you're thinking and not telling your partner, or vice versa, then it's just a recipe for disaster. And I know I listened to one of your recent podcasts, and you were interviewing a woman, I can't remember her name, and the new dads out there, I think, will really want to go back and have a listen to that episode. You'll probably remember it a little bit better than I did, obviously, about having sex after birth.
Oh yeah, that's with Kimberly Johnson. Yeah,
Yes, okay.
she's a world of expertise. She's a sexological body worker, and so she knows that world inside and out. And she was echoing a lot of the sentiments I was just talking about. I learned a lot from her.
Yeah, it was an awesome podcast. So guys, go back and listen to that one. It's not that long back, is it? Just one of your recent ones.
Yeah, no, just a couple weeks ago, I believe it was released.
Yeah. So yeah, basically what it does in a nutshell is, I think you'd had her on the show before to talk about, more generally women and integrating back into a sex life after childbirth. But this one was more focused on dads and the communication and so dads can understand a little bit more about what a mum goes through in that world. So guys, definitely head back and listen to that one. So we talked about these 5 Ps. Is there anything that you do on a daily basis, like some little thing, little niche, little something that you figured out that really works for you, that you might be able to give dads as a bit of advice out there?
It kind of goes back to kind of the losing myself that I've tried to get back into it. And it's creating a space in my day for me. And I'm the type of person, I'm definitely like a giver and a doer. So I fill up a lot of my time, and a lot of those things I do, whether it's business or the family, I'm giving a lot. And as I said, like my power went down because I wasn't doing enough for myself. So sometimes that means like getting up way too early in the morning I'm not a morning person, but I became more so, but now that I have a kiddo, but getting up a half hour before everybody else in the house is getting up, just so I can like have some time for myself. Sometimes that means like sitting and like meditating and something mindful that way. Sometimes it's just as simple as getting a cup of coffee and like staring out the window for a self before the whole thing comes, before the house warms up and starts getting a little more hectic. And the same thing's true for like working out. That is a time for myself that I've been trying to do, like 30 minutes every day, move in some way, whether it's, just going for a walk or doing, headed to the gym and doing something with weights. It's something that it's had for me, in order to make it more of a habit, it had to be daily instead of doing like the 3 times a week thing, either in a workout or creating time for myself. It just, in the way my life went, it was like, all right, I'm going to do 3 times this week. And by the end of the week, I'm like, oh man, I kept bumping it to the next day and it never came around. So I had to do it daily. And sometimes it's 10 minutes just for myself to just, and the best time for me is to do it first thing in the morning, because it grounds me, it settles me, and allows me to be much more calm going into some of the hectic stuff that comes up with like trying to get Niko out the door and dressed, or, just feeding him or whatever it is that should be a simple thing. But, with a 3-year-old that's willful and learns the word no, just becomes an issue. So it's helped me ground me, just feel more calm, so I'm not as reactive. And it's impossible to not react sometimes. Like we all have a short fuse sometimes, but that's something I want to not have be a regular part of my dadhood. I want to, be as calm and as understanding as I can be.
And I think that's a great point. A couple of points there actually is creating space for yourself. That's so important. And it doesn't have to be, an hour-long meditation every day. It could literally be sitting down with a cup of coffee. That's really important. And I don't prescribe, I don't do it as much as I would like, but I agree that if you can, first thing in the morning, doing it is great, because number one, it's out of the way. You've done it. It's finished. So then, if you put it off towards the end of the day, that's so many things come up in life that, you can then push it to the next day. When it comes to exercise, same thing. It's like, I totally get every day, and that's brilliant. But if you're a dad out there listening going, there's just no way that's going to happen, the other way to at least try to ensure it happens is schedule it, and not just go, well, it's going to be 3 times this week at some point. It's like, no, it's going to be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m., and that's when I do it exactly. So I think that's just a way to think about it if that's the case. So Jay, do you have a lesson that the biggest lesson you've learned as a dad, or the biggest lesson you've learned from your dad?
I'd say they're kind of both. I mean, the biggest lesson I've learned in these 3 years of being Niko's dad is to slow down and enjoy the moment. I mean, kids are the perfect way of slowing you down, and because they see things in such a, well, it's not a unique way. They see it, everything is brand new, and the things that you're, just so used to seeing, like, that aren't special, like, become special again if you let it, right? So with me like moving fast and like want to get things done and all that kind of stuff, I might be like hanging out with Niko. And if I go into the day that I'm spending with Niko by myself, it's just him and me with an agenda, like, all right, I got to get these things done, whether they're errands or whatever it is. Niko just, I don't know, he just senses it, and he's like, nah, we're not going to let Dad do that. And I used to get frustrated with it, and then I couldn't be present with Niko. Whereas if I took that off the plate, I'm like, all right, let me just like spend time with my kiddo and just do the things that he wants to do. I mean, not like jump off cliffs and stuff like that, but, keep him safe, but, just be present and play. Like, it's so much more enjoyable. And the times that I would get frazzled and just be like, I can't get anything done and things like that. Like my mom and dad are close by, and they're a big part of Niko's life, fortunately. And, both my mom and dad would say the same thing, but my dad would take me aside. He's like, hey, Jay, it goes so fast, like slow down, like all those other things that you think are important, like they're not nearly as important as enjoying your time with the son. It goes by so fast before you know it, he's going to be out of the house. And I have to remember those things. And sometimes like I have to be like conscious, like, hey, slow down, Jay, like enjoy the ride. But, just even, this morning, woke up and we're just sitting, Niko and I, looking out the front window, and a bird flew by, like right in front, landed on a bush for like a second, and then flew away. And he's like, whoa, oh my gosh, did you see that, Dad? Bird flew, and to me, it's like, yeah, bird flew by. Like, what's the big deal? But for him, it was like this really cool thing. And it is a really cool thing. It's an amazing thing that just happened in front. And he slows me down enough to like appreciate that. And I kind of laugh. And there's a whole new world, like that we can see the world again as dads through our kids' eyes. If you're slowing down enough to enjoy that. And that's something I have to remind myself to do. But when I do, the days go that much better, and Niko's that much happier, and the whole family's happier.
I think it's a big lesson for all of us as dads, but just as people, to try and slow down. Like, I remember my dad not that long ago telling me he's just turned 70, and he said, life goes fast, doesn't it? And I was like, man, it is so fast at the moment. And he said, at the time he was maybe 68, and he said, I'm 68 now, and life has never moved faster than it is right now. And I thought, oh man, don't tell me that. As you get towards that, semi-retirement, I don't think he'll ever retire. He's that kind of man. But just like semi-retirement and having all this extra time, the time will start to slow down. Then it keeps going, getting faster and faster all the time. So anything we can do, even if it's just for a moment or two each day, to slow that down, to get into that state of flow where time is just irrelevant, is just, figuring out what works for you. And I think that comes back to finding a passion. When you're doing a real passionate thing, time just sort of, it doesn't exist in the way that we think about time. So that's just a little tip out there for you guys. Jay, now, I do something on most episodes that I call dad work. So I try and give the dads out there something that they can work on a few times a week to just become better men and better dads. So the way I like to get our host or our guests to talk about it is the idea of, if you had 2 minutes in front of a room of 1,000 dads who are eagerly listening to your message, what would be your wake up dad message to them, or something they can do in a dad work model?
Yeah, I would really have each of the dads spend some time thinking about their own dad and how they perceive their dad. Now, as a father myself, I look at my dad in a totally new way. Not 100% different, because my dad was really present. He wasn't doing the like changing diapers and all that kind of stuff early on, but later on he was really supportive. He's at all my baseball practices and games and supporting me through things. But there are certain things about him I didn't really understand, like how he operated, that now as a dad, I totally get it in a whole new way. And so there's, as awesome as my dad was, there are definitely things that he did that I want to change around. And so there's there's a lot of wisdom that can come from whether you talk with your dad about it or not, depending on what your relationship is like now. But for those new dads or dads to be, to spend time going over, like, what do you remember about your own dad? Like, what do you remember about the things you liked about him and that you want to do that your kiddo would say the same thing about you? And then, it's valuable to look at, like, all right, what are the things that you didn't like that your dad did that you don't want to do? And so you don't always want to be motivated from the negative, but I think shining a light on that will allow you, if you go into that pattern, because that's the mold you were raised in, that you can break that chain sooner. But I think, at least my experience has been that looking back on my own dad, like, I appreciated him that much more. And thankfully, like, my dad's still in my life and he's still alive and a wonderful part of Niko's life. So I can share that with him. And that's something that, we all can learn something from, and then be able to even improve upon even more, and that's something I've only recently done. And it kind of goes along with like purpose and legacy that you have, like, what kind of legacy are you going to leave as a dad? And what are your kids going to say about you as they're grown-ups? What do you want them to do? And then you got to boil that down into, like, all right, how are you behaving and what are you doing with them today that's going to create them to say that about you when they become adults?
Absolutely. Love it. I've been doing a lot more of that myself as well, and thinking, about my relationship with my dad. And I haven't actually sat down and had that real big discussion with him. But, all dads are different, and my dad's not a big talker. So I'm thinking it'll maybe come out in dribs and drabs over the while. But yeah, I've thought about that a lot, to think about, who he was as a man when he had 3 small kids, and, what he wanted to achieve in life and all of those things. It's a really interesting point to ponder. So Jay, how can people get in touch with you if they want to know more about your center, if this is a dad to be, and to have his partner who's pregnant to get in touch with you, and whether they're not in your area? I'm sure that you have different referral networks as well for people all around the country. How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, the best way is through my website. It's drjwarren.com, and that has, that site then has the different funnels into, if you want to check out the podcast, if you want to just reach out to me, the contact form there is, it's there. With the podcast, as yours is through iTunes, going all over the world, I have people reaching out all the time. And if I can get back to you right away or know the answer to your question, I'll be able to, get back to you as soon as possible with some resources, whether it's through me or through somebody I can put you in contact with. And it's amazing, the global community that iTunes and our podcasts gives you access to. But I think it's really important because, the dads that are listening to this episode right now are dads that want to be better. They want to be present. They want to be the best dad that they can. And those are going to be the dads that kind of in a clan that are, part of your show, Scott, going to be bonding together and, creating a community, whether it's a virtual community or even in your neck of the woods. But it's important for us dads that are kind of on that more conscious path of wanting to be better and to improve that really need support. And I think this show does a lot for them.
Oh, thanks for that, Jay. Yeah, we're trying to create a Dadhood tribe to take over the world.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. Thanks again, Jay, for that awesome discussion. Check out the website, www.thewakeupdadshow.com. Go to iTunes, give us a rating so we can reach more dads. My email is drscott@thewakeupdadshow.com if you want to get in touch with me. And remember, dads, let's keep becoming better dads together.
Do you want to know more about the Wake Up Dad movement? Go to www.thewakeupdadshow.com to download any and all past issues of the show, claim your free gift, or to directly ask Dr. Scott any questions you have. Continue the conversation on the Facebook group Wake Up Dad. Share this podcast with other dads on iTunes or Google Play. Make sure to subscribe to the show and give us a rating so we can reach more dads. And dads, one last thing. Wake up!